This is not a fiction. This is a real story based on true events. Here none of the characters are imaginary, but we are simply changing the names of the characters. Why? We will get to that little later. Resemblance to the names for anyone not associated with the case is purely coincidental, and this story is based on this Supreme Court judgment. There is a humble village named Piludara in Gujarat. It is a peaceful settlement where everyone knew everyone. People were closely bonded with trust. Every day, the muddy roads in the village would erupt in joyous cheers of playful children, the nerve center of the village. It was a quite usual morning at Piludara on 13th of April 2016. But the village was hit by a disquiet by the evening that same day, one they had never felt before. In that village also lived a family of 4. Nathgiri is a farmer. At the break of dawn, at about 6 in the morning on 13th of April, he and his wife Sundari Ben left their modest home to fetch fodder for their cattle. Their 2 young children, 4-year-old Chandu and 3-month-old Pooja, remained in the care of their grandmother. The hours slipped by, and by the time the couple returned home at about 11 in the morning, everything seemed as they had left it. The children were at home and the grandmother was busy with the household chores. After a brief rest, Nathgiri left again to install a dish TV system in the village. But when he returned home in the early afternoon, Chandu, the 4-year-old son, was nowhere to be found. Nathgiri checked with Sundari Ben and she said the child would probably be playing outside. No suspicion raised. But another few hours passed by. Concern quickly turned into alarm when Sundari Ben mentioned to Nathgiri that Chandu has been playing near the temple but hadn't been seen for some time. He hasn't come back home. Imagine, just a 4-year-old child. The mother had started panicking. She went around the village asking everyone, "Have you seen my Chandu? Have you seen my Chandu? Please tell me if you have seen my Chandu. Where is my little child Chandu?" Everyone nodded their heads in negative. But they all were beginning to feel the concern of a mother. Nathgiri's frantic search for his son led him to Botsnaben, his sister-in-law, who too lived nearby in the same village. Her words froze him to his core. She had seen Chandu at about 12:30 in the afternoon playing by the temple side when a familiar figure from the same village, Shambhu Bhai Parihar, approached the boy. Botsnaben explained that she saw the 24-year-old man Shambhu Bhai approach Chandu and offer him an ice cream. Shambhu Bhai had casually told Botsnaben that he was taking Chandu to buy him an ice cream. Botsnaben had objected. She had said, no, don't have to take the child. But Shambhu had insisted, dismissed all the objections and said that he would bring the child back home or to her after fetching him an ice cream. It's a village after all, where everyone seemed like family or extended family. But hours had passed and Chandu was still missing. Desperation gripped Nathgiri, the father, as he combed through the village, calling out for his son, "Chandu, Chandu, where are you, my son? Chandu, Chandu, please respond. Chandu, please respond. Where are you hiding, my beta? Come back home. Where are you?" The father kept shouting, but Chandu never responded. At about 2 p.m., his search led him to a jamun tree near the Pir Dargah by the lake. There, he encountered Shambhu Bhai. The young man claimed that he had bought Chandu an ice cream and sent him home. The father got all the more worried. He rushed back home to check on Chandu. Yet, when he reached home, his son was still not there. Panic and dread had begun to overwhelm him. As hours dragged on, a devastating discovery shattered the peace of the entire village. At around 5 in the evening, Chandu's lifeless body was found near the acacia bushes by the lake. The once playful child lay naked, his small frame bearing the horrific signs of violence. The entire village had come to a standstill.
Chandu!
A child full of life, playful in the morning, was lifeless and cold, dead in the evening. And there were marks, telltale signs of wounds on the body. The post-mortem report would later reveal the unimaginable. Chandu had been subjected to a brutal sexual assault and later strangled to death. The injury spoke volumes of the unspeakable cruelty inflicted upon him. The 4-year-old little boy was sodomized, meaning someone had forcibly penetrated his penis into the anus of Chandu. In other words, Chandu was raped. There were multiple wounds around his perineal skin, that is the outer region of the rectum. It was swollen, reddish in color. The anal orifice dilated, roomy. Diameter of the anal orifice is about only 2.5 centimeter. Part of the rectum literally protruding outside through the anal orifice. There was a bite mark in form of pressure abrasion, a size roughly about 4 centimeter over the right cheek, here, right here. There were multiple lacerations of different sizes, varying between 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter deep, with underlying contusion, which means bruises on both lips of Chandu. There were wounds on the left side of the neck. There were bruises on the right side of the neck. There were bruises here. Look at your child. If he is 4 years old, check his little fingers. Aren't they small? His other body parts are equally small. But then, an adult who has bigger body parts had forced himself on Chandu. Let that sink in. The investigation swiftly pointed to Shambhu Bhai, whose suspicious behavior and presence at the crime scene painted a damning picture. Police had arrested Shambhu on 14th of April, exactly a day later. His arrest further unveiled damning evidences. Injuries on his genitals consistent with the assault and his inability to offer a plausible explanation for his actions. Shambhu broke down before police and later took them to the place where he had buried Chandu's clothes. Yes, he had raped Chandu, then killed him and also tried to cover it up. The chain of circumstantial evidences, coupled with matching of blood samples and the recovery of child's clothes at Shambhu's behest, left no doubt about his culpability. He was booked under the sections of 302, 364 and 377 of then IPC and sections 4 and 6 of Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012, that is POCSO. The POCSO court on 26th of April 2018 found Shambhu guilty and convicted him, gave him death sentence. For the parents of Chandu, it wasn't any closure, but they thought the man who had snatched away their only son will be punished, will be seen to be punished. Was Shambhu hanged? Answer is no, because the verdict was then challenged before the Gujarat High Court in 2018, that is 2 years since the crime. The High Court too in April 2019 upheld the trial court death sentence, deeming the case to be rarest of rare category. Was Shambhu Bhai then hanged? No, he wasn't, because the matter then reached to the Supreme Court. 2019. I mean, 3 years have already passed by that Shambhu had killed Chandu. Cut to 2024, which is 8 years since the crime, and the Supreme Court in December this year has given the final verdict. In Supreme Court, Justices B.R. Gavai and K.V. Vishwanathan delved deeper into not only the brutality of the crime but also the person behind it. And 8 years since the killing of little Chandu, the Supreme Court has commuted the death sentence to rigorous imprisonment without remission for 25 years. Yes, you heard it right. Which means Shambhu Bhai will not be hanged, rather he will be in jail for 25 years. Why did the Supreme Court decide so? Shambhu Bhai, the court noted, was just 24 years old at the time of the crime, with no prior criminal record. Reports highlighted his difficult upbringing, marked by poverty and intellectual disabilities, stemming from childhood tuberculosis, meningitis. While the crime was undeniably heinous, the court also considered evidence of his remorse, and good behavior during his incarceration. Mental health evaluations revealed moderate psychotic features, but not present in the present time. Here's the operative part of the judgment, and I want to read it so that you understand what I'm referring to. The trial court has imposed the sentence of death and the High Court has confirmed the same. It is time for us to draw up a balance sheet of the aggravating and mitigating circumstances to decide whether the case falls in the category of rarest of rare case. We also need to examine whether the sentence of life imprisonment is foreclosed and the possibility of reformation is completely ruled out. Without doubt, the crime committed by Shambhu Bhai was diabolic in character. He enticed the innocent child by tempting him with ice cream and brutally sodomized and murdered the 4-year-old. Considering the overall facts and circumstances, we hold that the present is not a case where it can be said that the possibility of reformation is completely ruled out. The option of life imprisonment is not foreclosed. The case does not fall in the category of rarest of rare case. We hold that a sentence of imprisonment for a period of 25 years without remission would be a just desert. So Supreme Court called it diabolical, but then the case did not come under the category of rarest of rare. The court probably faced a difficult moral and legal question. Was Shambhu Bhai beyond redemption? Could society forsake him entirely? Or was there room to believe in his potential for reformation? Guided by the principles laid out in previous landmark cases, the Supreme Court decided to commute the death sentence to life imprisonment. The Supreme Court had then taken feedback from the Superintendent of Vadodara Central Jail about Shambhu's conduct and behavior. The Apex Court also wanted a report on his mental health. The jail super had responded and said that Shambhu's conduct was good. I wish there was some mechanism to get some feedback on Chandu. I wish somebody could tell us, how is Chandu at home now? Does he go to school? Is he a acha bacha or a naughty one who troubles his mother while eating? Does he take care of his little sister? What sport does he like to play now? Is he picking up on any language? Ganit aa raha hai Chandu ko? Or if not anything else, let's ask Chandu, does he know the meaning of reformation now? I can only imagine little Chandu from a different world staring at that jail where Shambhu is still alive with his life and waiting for reformation. I can only imagine Chandu wondering what his trust on Shambhu has cost him. Chandu was just 4 years when killed 8 years back. 8 years later, he's probably 12 now, but in a different world. So what exactly happened in our world? Well, the law in this world allows everyone to seek recourse. The law allows everyone to be represented. In this world, all three courts found Shambhu Bhai guilty, but he still had his defense lawyers in every court. Some senior counsel went pro bono to defend Shambhu, even in Supreme Court. And I'm sure Chandu has watched all of this unfold quietly, but from a different world. But standing on this world, I wonder what will happen in the case of RG Kaur. If this would happen in the case of RG Kaur too. In this world, I wonder the people and the doctors who wanted reforms, will they be okay with the reformation of a rapist? This case is undeniably horrifying and heart-wrenching. The brutality of the crime, the innocence of the victim, the sheer violation of trust involved make it profoundly disturbing. Many might find instinctively that it falls under the rarest of rare category due to its cruelty and the devastating impact on the victim's family and community. There's 60 years of jurisprudence on death sentence, a legal guide for courts. But why the guide works differently in trial court, high court, and then Supreme Court? Trial court gives death sentence as the form of justice. Supreme Court says 25 years of punishment and no remission. Supreme Court says 25 years of punishment and reformation. Can we ever imagine what such differing interpretations and application of legal jurisprudence do to a bereaved family? If you are feeling angry and upset, your reaction is entirely valid and deeply human. The unimaginable horror of this crime shakes anyone who reads about it, and the court's decision can feel profoundly frustrating, especially when considering the irreparable loss of an innocent life. It's natural to feel that a punishment as irreversible as the crime itself might be the only way to honor the victim or serve justice. The Supreme Court's judgment, while by law reasoned, does leave room for discomfort and doubt in society. The fact that someone capable of such brutality is being given a chance at reform can feel unfair, especially when the victim and their family are left with permanent scars. The idea that the taxpayers might bear the cost of this person's life in the prison can compound these emotions and frustrations. This is why discussions about justice, deterrence, and rehabilitation are so charged and important. While courts often aim to prioritize humanity and the principle of reformation, society at large struggles to reconcile such principles with the gut-wrenching emotions tied to the crimes of this magnitude. It is a difficult balance. For some, the belief in redemption and a chance to change, no matter how faint, is what defines the justice system's moral high ground. For others, especially those grieving an irreparable loss, it can feel like an injustice to prioritize the convicts' potential over the suffering they have caused. You are not alone in feeling this way, and these debates are crucial for shaping the justice system in ways that reflect society's collective sense of fairness and accountability. The court's reliance on the possibility of reform and its emphasis on the socio-economic background of the perpetrator may resonate with lofty ideals of justice, but they leave ordinary citizens grappling with a sense of betrayal. The brutal loss of a 4-year-old child whose innocent life was snuffed out in an act of barbarity is met not with the irreversible finality of capital punishment, but with a tempered sentence that many might see as leniency. This may create a dangerous precedent, especially at a time when you are standing at a cusp of revolt, ushering in revolution post the Arko incident. Thus I ask, what happened in the case of Chandu? If that happens in the case of Arko, will that be acceptable? You know, when I shared this story with a friend of mine, she's a mother of a 3-year-old boy, her instant reaction was a mix of fear and anger. She clutched her son almost immediately after hearing this story and broke down, saying, "It scares me, Tamal. What if there are people around my son who would try to harm him? I'm always scared that I'm dropping my son at school, unsure as what would happen next and if he would be all right till he comes back to me." Because these are people who are not scared, and fear should be instilled in them so that they don't even dare to pursue such dark thoughts. Fear in the form of punishment. Then she said, while still holding on to her son, "I can feel for Chandu's mother. She must be longing to hold her son like how I'm holding my son close to my heart." That's what my friend told me. The frustration lies in judiciary's occasional detachment from the raw emotions and moral outrage of the common people. Do principles of reformation truly serve justice or inadvertently embolden the perpetrators of such heinous crimes? I mean, with all due respect to the Supreme Court, Shambhu Bhai, after reformation, may walk out of the jail as a better human being, but he also may not. Nobody has seen the future. That's a probability, right? But there is no probability or possibility of Chandu coming back home ever and ever again. Will it be forever be a struggle to find justice in an imperfect world? If we are feeling frustrated, where do we take our frustration? Who do we take our frustration to? Supreme Court is supreme. We are not questioning the jurisprudence of the judges. But then, if there is a law that allows interpretation of jurisprudence in such a way that somebody who had committed such a heinous crime, inflicted so much of pain on a little soul, finally not given capital punishment and sent to 25 years of imprisonment, if that jurisprudence is something that many people find questionable in today's day and time, then might as well, we should have a new law. Might as well, instead of seeking reformation of a culprit, of a convict, maybe we should seek a reform or reformation in our own legal system. Just for a moment, can you imagine the amount of pain that little child probably had gone through in those moments of horror? I mean, a 4-year-old child who lacked strength to fight back. The child could not fight for his own defense. The child could not shout to seek help from others. The child, for heaven's sake, could not run back to his mother and ask for help. That's how we as children have behaved all throughout. Every time in trouble, we would run to our mothers and say, "Mom, save us, help us." Take shield right behind her. Chandu could not do any of that. Chandu's father could not fight for him. Chandu could not be given medical treatment. He was already dead. And all of this doesn't form as a rarest of a rare case, then what does? What does? What does? 25 years after the imprisonment, when Shambhu Bhai walks out, he would be probably what, 49, 50 years old, right? Chandu was 4 years old when he died. So, when Shambhu Bhai completes his 25 years of imprisonment, Chandu would be what, 29, 28? I mean, how does it matter, right? How does it matter? He is in a different world. Thank you so much.